The Tao is the tabernacle of creation. It is a treasure for those who are good and a place of refuge for those who are not. How can those who are not good be abandoned? Words that are beautiful are worth much, but good behavior can only be learned by example. When a new leader takes office, don't give him gifts and offerings. These things are not as valuable as teaching him about the Tao. Why was the Tao esteemed by the ancient masters? Is it not said, "With it we find without looking, with it we find forgiveness for our transgressions"? That is why the world cannot understand it. I really like these lines about how the Tao is a treasure for some and a refuge for others. The Tao is for everyone exactly the thing that he or she needs in that specific time of their life. For those who are living a fairly actualized life, they see the value of closeness with the Tao. It becomes to them a priceless treasure that they value above all others. For those who are not currently living in harmony or closeness with Tao, the Tao calls out to them as well. It doesn't force anyone to follow it, but it softly urges all people and things in its direction if they will listen. There are those who may be farther separated from Tao, but who desire closeness with it. Maybe they don't call it Tao or the universe or God. Maybe they don't call it anything. It may be that they only desire a feeling of peace and closeness, and are willing to give up their own desires and ambitions in order to attain it. Many people experience this as just a feeling that there is something more to life. The first step to finding this something is for them to either consciously or subconsciously make up their minds to find that thing, whatever it is, and that it is more important than any other desire or ambition they may have. They may have to give up on trying to find satisfaction and contentment in worldly pursuits and pleasures. Many people come to this point after years of trying to find happiness in their work, relationships, entertainment, substances, or behaviors, and being finally just fed up with it all. Some people find it through their respective religions, or through the pursuit of truth, or thoughtful study of philosophy and life improvement. There are as many different ways to find the path to Tao as there are people in the world. But at the end of the day, they all lead to that critical first step of letting go of one's own desires in favor of something greater than the self. When those who have not experienced the Tao begin to experience it, one of the feelings they will feel is an immense sense of relief. When we have come to experience this sense of relief, this sense of belonging and oneness, we are then in the position to help others to find it. However, often the best way to do this is to show others the path by our own examples. There is a place for words, but as we have learned in previous chapters, words are imprecise and often inadequate for things like describing and pointing the way to Tao. I'm learning this more and more every day as I write these scripts and find how difficult it is to adequately describe my own experience with Tao in a way that can be understood and made use of. Better than words is to let people get the feel of what Tao is by seeing how we live our lives. This is certainly the most difficult way to teach. It's much easier to try and describe the way than to actually live it. However, this is the most effective way of teaching others. And at the end of the day, if we're not living the way ourselves, isn't all our fancy talk just that, fancy talk? The greatest gift we can give to our leaders, or anyone really, is to set for them the example of following Tao. The beauty of this is that it's a gift that we can give just by the way we live our lives. That's what we should be doing anyway. The best examples are set by a person living a virtuous life naturally, and not to show off or to do other people good. People feel stuff like that, and nobody likes insincerity. Finally, in the last paragraph, we are told that with Tao, we find without looking and find forgiveness for our transgressions. This is another one of those sections of the Tao Te Ching that really just shows how Taoism, far from running contrary to many religions, such as Christianity for example, actually pairs with them so well. The way I see it, if you're religious, Taoism really just serves to deepen and enrich the understanding that your religion has already given to you. There is so much truth out there, and you can find it in many different types of places. The funny thing about truth, so far as I see it, is that no matter where you find it, it all just seems to kind of fit together, like an ever-expanding puzzle. Whether you're religious or not, I really encourage you to go about your life collecting pieces of truth wherever you happen to meet them. Taoism, as with anything, should be a means to an end, not an end in and of itself. Learning about Taoism is not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to become one with Tao, Source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. And the teachings of Taoism, at the end of the day, are just tools for doing that. But going back to the chapter, many religions have some sort of belief in forgiveness of sins. If you're religious, you probably have your own take on this already, and to that I say great. But if you're not religious, Maybe I can offer a perspective to make this concept seem a little more practical. We all make mistakes. We all screw up. This is a part of life and we accept this. But we also accept that in order to have better lives or to be better people, somewhere along the line, we have to stop making these mistakes. Our lives only change if we change. This is the whole point of self-help. Yet so often our efforts at self-help fall short. How many unfinished diets, unread books, and uncompleted programs are there scattered throughout the pages of your life story? I know that in mine, there's a ton. We can try to change by ourselves, but at the end of the day, if we are able to change at all, these changes are often only superficial. Thus, the need for Tao, or whatever you want to call it. When we make an honest intention to get closer or get right with Tao, a path begins to reveal itself to us, one step at a time. As we take one step, the next step becomes clear. Eventually, we follow this path until it leads us back to Tao, where real and lasting change is truly possible. That's all the time I've got for today. Just think on what we've talked about for a bit, and see if anything from it feels like something that you can take in using your own life. And as always, I do just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow for chapter 63. Peace and blessings.